went together. We were in the same cohort, so I see Federico as my, I don't know if it's a big brother or little brother, but yeah. But I also just wanted to add on what Mr. Burdick said and what Honorable Theofelus said, which was that we have to come back. So when we were starting ALA, we had this agreement that for 10 years after our 21st birthday, doesn't matter where we end up at, whether we are in Europe or in the US or wherever, we have to come back to the continent. And that felt like, okay, it's a decade, it's a whole decade of your life. From 25 to 35, you are supposed to stay on the continent, to live and work on the continent. And at that point, and what were we, 17, when we left LA, that felt like such a commitment. Because like that opportunity was at B8, 8B, 8B. You know, it was either you, wherever you stay, you have to pay back the loan, or you come back and then it's a grant. So we obviously, for us, that, you know, we're coming from a situation where we can't afford $30,000 for 1 year. Our ALA experience was 2 years. It was a lot. So we all decided, okay, we're going to sign this agreement and we are going to dedicate 10 years of our lives after our 21st birthday to the continent. Like I said, at that point, it felt like such a difficult decision to make. But after being at LA, where we've been taught about Pan-Africanism and leadership and giving back to where we come from, I fell in love with Africa. So, and I realized, I know I was in Namibia and I knew that there were 54 African states, but at that point I'm like, there are 54 African states. We don't have to be limited to Namibia, of course, but we must, I want to encourage the young people here, if we do get these opportunities to go abroad and to go to the US for scholarships or even to work, that we do come back at some point. We do come back and we do plow back and we do give back to the nation and put our talents to work in our country so that we can develop our country and develop our continent collectively, make it a concerted effort to work together to make the continent better, to make it competitive as well. So that's my contribution.
Only in one country only. The only one we have will not get another one. So come back, please. We'll share these opportunities. We are having people walking around the register. So the minute we get the information from Mr. Jonathan, the Honorable will share it, then apply. But come back. Yes.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. So my name is Simon. Just a question for the So for me, it's mostly about Namibia and the digital world. So many things have been talked about: AI, artificial intelligence, people coming to take over from us. But I have noticed that we have embraced the digital inclusion where villages and rural areas have been left out. Because if you go deep in Wena or Shana region, people do not even know what AI is. People do not know what digital inclusion is. Now my question is, villages and rural areas are being left out and left behind this digital world. What is the government doing to close the gap which we talk about now, digital inclusion and digital literacy? Because I have also noticed, like, are we getting too much pressure from the developed countries for us to just want to jump stages? So what can we do as a nation to ensure that when we move digitally, everybody is taken along? So, and also, because even all these opportunities, for you to work in the US, you need to have that digital infrastructure. Now, is Namibia's digital infrastructure ready to embrace the digital world? If not, what can each and every citizen, be it in government, legislature, or civil society, do for us to all work together? Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone, and all protocols observed. I go by the name of Manfredi Kahima. On this good afternoon, I just want to give a word of thanks to NANSO for having us here. It's really a big opportunity that we that are here that we embrace. But one would feel like we could have overlooked it. This is not the only youth that we have. And Ms. Bush, a few weeks ago, I posted a question on you when we were at the Church of Africa, the 60th Memorial, whereby I say the gap between information to get to the youth. I feel like it's a huge gap. I really don't know. Because there's a thing that goes by social media. Is it something bad or good? Because you find people every day, TikTok, watching funny videos. But then my question is this information not get to people or to the youth, or are we ignorant as a youth? Are we too ignorant as a youth to come to these opportunities? Because this is a very huge opportunity for your network. But then the youth seems very uninterested. And then we go back to blame the government. I really don't know that. Is it the gap, or are we working on that gap or something like that? And then the other thing is to everyone that is here, I just want to say, as insignificant as you think as you are, we all have a part to play for our Namibian. And like Mr. Jonathan said, like, Africa is the world's future. So as much as you think that you are not significant, as much as you think your talent is not that much, we all have a role to play, especially in Africa. Because Africa is the world's, like Mr. Jonathan, Africa is the world's future. So we all have a role to play. So let's keep applying for those opportunities. Let's keep putting ourselves out there in the world. And like I'm sorry, but like she said, like just keep trying again and again. Like one day the day will come. And then I just have a question for Ms. Federico. You mentioned that you have you started an agency. Would you give us more information on it? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vicky, for the opportunity and the platform. The gentleman at the back said something that does not sit well with me. He said, he made a statement in lines of the young people are ignorant. And I want to correct my fellow colleague there. The youth of Namibia are not ignorant. And those are the sentiments I will continue to echo. And I'm going to use an example of one of the projects currently in the country, the Green Hydrogen Project. When it was launched, I was there. And I said, youth in Namibia are not ignorant. Line ministries and organizations within the country should be very deliberate in terms of the information dissemination issue. Because a young person in the most remote areas of this country or in villages in this country, it's not that they are ignorant, it's not that they are not interested, they do not have access to the information. So what the line ministries and government and organizations should do is we should be very deliberate, and we should be very deliberate in terms of bridging the gap between the young person in the most remote areas of this country and the information that they are disseminating. Because young people, it's not that young people are ignorant. So I just wanted to correct my fellow colleague there. Namibian youth, specifically, I'm speaking on behalf of the youth of Namibia, we are not ignorant. We should just work on the dissemination of information, because in most cases, young people in the most remote areas of the country do not have access to this information. And because they do not have access thereof, it doesn't mean that they are ignorant. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Latin, and my question is directed to Ms. I'm so sorry I didn't get it. But yeah, anyways, you've spoken of some short UN professional programs, and I wanted to inquire on on the young UN Young Professional Programs. Like you stated that the excellence takes part in June once a year and everything else. But then I wanted to find out, is it funded for, like, at least you manage, you go through the excellence? Is it fully funded for? How do you go about it?
Okay. So,
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Just have 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Back at the house. Okay. So, thank you so much for your questions. Yes, Namibia in the digital world. I think I should first, very few minutes, give context. So, post-independence, I don't think any country knew that technology would accelerate so quickly. And we saw in Namibia that after the first, brick phone was launched, well, first the telephone lines, through the works cable that we have in Swakopmund, then we leapfrog directly to mobile. We didn't have to have a telephone in every house for us to leapfrog to mobile technology. And that's across the entire continent. So the way technology moved in Africa is not the way it moved in parts of the rest of the world. We're actually able to move faster because, one, we have a younger population, but the technology moves so quickly that we're able to skip some stages. And this is what I suspect is happening now post-COVID-19. Because now, taxi drivers were taxi drivers. You hail a taxi, you go outside, you hail a taxi, you pay everything. But now people are using mobile apps. So at what point, what stages did we skip for us to move from hailing a taxi, as it is custom for every part of the continent, mostly in Latin America and some parts of Asia, that we now can actually hail a car ride on a mobile application, where we still have, yes, gaps between the urban and the rural population divide in terms of accessibility to devices, affordability of data. But it just shows that technology doesn't wait for anyone. Anyone who's able to leverage it, gets it, and moves with it. So this is the situation we're having in Namibia now. The country is large, colleagues. Setting up a network tower takes about 2.5 million Namibian dollars. One network tower. Then you start to do upgrades to 4G or 5G after we launched our 5G. Now, some parts of Namibia, you find a village of 200 people. You must put up a 2.5 million tower. Then you also find a big metropolitan city like let's say Chuarongo. That one needs more towers because the population is larger. But also people are not like, we like our spaces, Namibians. We like our big yards, our big houses, our big farms. But the people must still be connected. And on the long B1 road from, what's the furthest town, Norduver, all the way to Chicago, there must also be connectivity. It's expensive. It's not going to work. Even some parts of America, am I correct, Mr. John, are not connected. When a country is large, it doesn't work. What we have now tried to look at is how can we look at new technology, satellites. We have Starlink that we're speaking to. We have OneWeb, which is Chinese that we're talking to Amazon. Satellite technology would perhaps solve the last mile, middle mile challenges we're having because the country is just too large to connect by network connectivity in terms of network towers. The budget we get on a yearly basis from finance that we share with every other ministry, which is also important, is just not allowing us. So that's the one. But also secondly, we are actively looking at how can we reduce the cost of data. So our Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia, we're saying, okay, even though not everybody is connected, let those who are connected afford the data. Because opportunities are passing you by with that you don't have a way. So how do we reduce the amount of cost between NTC telecom operators to reduce the cost? Because we did a comparative study on the continent, our rates are one of the highest. And it's because of many things. The network operators are saying, you put up a tower in a village, most of the people in the village are children or elder people. Children don't have phones, elderly people only have a Tamagotchi. The very few young people there who are using data services that we're able to get more money in return for putting up that infrastructure, because we must ensure that we sustain our companies. You build a network tower, the tower must bring you income. But now, the people using 4G, 5G are maybe 1,000 young people in that town or on TikTok and YouTube and on WhatsApp. The rest of the people are small children, older people with Tamagotchis. So for them to get the return on investment takes longer than expected. So they're worried about their books. So it's a whole conversation. But we know that we need to do something now. So under the Communications Act, we have passed what we call the Universal Access Fund, where all technological companies will be paying a levy, contributing to the fund. When they say, okay, we don't want to go to X place because we won't get return on investment, government puts up the infrastructure there. And then the network operators use the infrastructure for free. But now the issue is in court, it's in court, it's in court. That is the problem now. But that is what we wanted to do. Secondly, we have the second landing cable, the Google cable. The Equinox cable landed, Telecom and Paratus made that possible. It's going to come online for faster and more affordable data services. So that hopefully will also bring the cost of data down. We are also talking to NAMRA to reduce the tax of imported phones. Because it's not only connectivity, it's also somebody sometimes can't afford the device. So we want tax breaks on the cost of the device so that it's more affordable to citizens. Last and not least, digital literacy. We have launched multiple projects where we are teaching young people basic digital literacy. I'm sure you saw that we went to Estonia. We came back with those Estonians. They came to give training. That training is continuing. We launched that in the most remote area we know in the Jubarit, which is Tsumkwe, to say that if it can succeed in Tsumkwe, it can succeed anywhere in Namibia. So we are constantly looking at partners to bring on board equipment, connectivity through telecom and NTC so that it's free and that we don't pay for it when these young people get the digital literacy skills. We are also, of course, trying to work with education because when somebody comes to learn how to use a computer at 19, 20, 25, it's a bit more difficult. They should start at 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. But we know the infrastructure challenges at education. But we are constantly trying to see, okay, in the meantime, what can we do? And this program is one of that. Last but not least, technology really doesn't wait for anyone. I don't know if you know, but the cyber attacks on our Namibian infrastructure, and this is important because we just allocated an amount of money to set up our cybersecurity incident response team. Namibia is very vulnerable. A hacker can switch off our entire energy grid. Hack into NamPower and there's no energy anywhere, anything. They can hack into NamWater. They can hack into our telecommunications and we could go dark. That's a state of emergency. So we might be leapfrogging and moving fast, but we have to protect ourselves. So we must channel that money to ensure that we have people that have the capacity to protect our infrastructure. So all of that, so we are basically doing multiple things at once. But that is Namibia in the digital world. We are not saying, let everybody have a network tower in their village for us to then start training on cybersecurity, or start doing this, or start doing that. Everything we have to do it multiple times with a very few resources that are being competed with by education, health, housing, sanitation. But we're constantly also preaching, even with our colleagues in government, that technology might look far now, but it's not a joke when somebody steals your e-wallet or somebody wipes out your account. That means it's a cybersecurity breach somewhere. We need to ensure that our technological capacity is boosted so that when the time comes for us to graduate and say, okay, everybody has equal access to technology, we are not left behind in terms of protecting ourselves because that is a big risk. So I just wanted to give that sort of context as to where we are, what we are doing, and that, it's a journey. And we're really trying, but hopefully those of you that know computer literacy, go back to your villages and teach the people in your villages, guys. We need you as digital ambassadors. We can't do it as a ministry alone, although we have 40 regional officers and 26 rural ICT centers where you can go and get basic training. But in a year, we train maybe 2,000 people. And that number keeps on growing year after year. So if you have the skills, approach us and say, I'm happy to do a one-week training. We have the equipment, we have the internet, our rural ICT centers in some of the most raw ICT places, we will give you the facilities. Just show to us that you are able to give the training and we're able to give the facilities for you to train. The Ministry of Youth is also another that came on board because they have community youth multi-purpose centers that also can work as centers where we can train people. It doesn't have to be young people, everybody around ICTs. So I just want to end there. Thank you.